So good morning, guys. Good morning, everyone, and I think most of you are the same time zone, right? All of you are in the same time zone except Nilofer, who joined from Malaysia. Okay, right. So in the previous session, like I covered Windows shortcuts and some computer basics that every software engineer should know, right? So now that's where I stopped here. Let me go to that slide. Right? So we'll have some quick assessment every day. So like on the previous day concepts. So what is the command to check the IP address of our machine? Jayalakshmi madam.
Sure, your voice is breaking.
Is it breaking for everyone?
Yes, sir. Breaking, sir.
Yes, breaking.
Let me switch the Wi-Fi. 1 second. Please give me a moment. Recording. So how to check the public IP of your machine? Can one of you share your screen and show me how to check the public IP of your machine? I want this from Siddharth.
Sir, I'm not at home right now. I'm sorry. I'm listening in my phone.
Okay. So on phone also you can check that. If you are not busy, you can check that on phone also.
Sorry, sir.
You can check it on phone also.
Oh,
Venkatesh?
Yes.
Siddharth, you can check it on phone also. Phone also will have some public IP. Okay, not only laptop or desktop.
Okay, I'm doing.
Venkatesh, can you please share your screen and show me how to check the public IP?
Okay.
Guys, I need everyone to check. Okay, can you please check and ping me what is your public IP in the Zoom chat?
sir, how should I check in the phone, sir?
You can open a browser and type what is my. That's what I explained yesterday. So did you follow the yesterday's session? I mean Saturday session.
Yeah.
Showing someone is already sharing.
No one is sharing. I stopped my screen share. No one is sharing.
Showing Siddharth. Okay.
Siddharth started sharing. No, Venkatesh started sharing. Okay. Venkatesh, can you show me how to check the public IP of your machine? Yeah. So here you can see the 157.48.183.181. Right. You can click on that link also. What is my IP address.com or what is my IP.com? There are many websites, right? So you can check. Click on that first link also.
Yes.
Right. IPv4 address is 157.48. Can you read out that, Venkatesh? Can you tell me what is your IP address? Venkatesh, please read it out.
Yes. 157.48.183.181.
Right. Okay. Thanks, Venkatesh.
Okay.
And what is your host name? Saujanya, can you please tell me what is your host name? Can you please share your screen and show me how to check the host name of your machine? Prasad, are you sharing? I want you to share your screen and show me how to open an elevated command prompt.
Sir, I am using iPad, sir.
Why? You told you already have a laptop, right?
Yes, sir.
Then?
For some classes, I am using iPad, sir.
Guys, are you able to hear me?
I am in other place, sir. So that's why I'm using, sir. Oh, okay, sir. Okay, sir. Definitely, sir.
Your voice is breaking. Okay, you are seems like you connected on a poor connection, poor internet connection also. Okay, fine. So can you tell me your system configuration, Alekia? This is for you. Can you tell me your? Did you join from laptop, Alekia?
No, sir.
Okay. Okay. Sorry, I think you told, right? You told me today, right?
Yes, sir.
Sorry, sir. Yeah. So now we'll go next, guys. Srinivas. Srinivas got disconnected. Achut,
Yes, sir, I'm in laptop.
you joined from laptop only, right?
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
Can you tell me what is your system configuration? For recording purpose, let me repeat it. So your laptop or your machine has 11th generation Core i5 processor, right? With a clock speed of 2.4 gigahertz. This is the processor clock speed, or simply remember it as processor speed of the processor. And next thing you have to tell when someone asks your system configuration is what is the RAM on your machine? What does
8
RAM stand for?
Random
Hold on.
access memory.
Please wait, I'll ask. Okay. RAM stands for random access memory, right? Your machine has 8 GB of RAM. And next thing you have to mention is, next thing that is worth mentioning is, yes, what is the operating system on your machine? Yes. So
Windows
this
10.
is,
Windows 10.
wait, so this is hardware configuration, right? And this is your software configuration. Yes or no?
Okay.
Understood, right? This is your hardware configuration, right? And this is your software configuration. What software, what operating system is installed on your machine? In this case, it is Windows 10 Home Edition. Clear, guys?
Yes, sir.
Okay, Windows 10 Home Edition. Right. Next. So that's enough. That's all you need to know, right? Not so difficult, right? Nothing difficult over here. Yes or no?
Yes, sir.
Nothing difficult to to understand, or nothing difficult to remember. And one more thing, it is a 64-bit operating system, right? This is another important, this is another important uh, spec or specification that you should need to know. Everyone need to know about your machine. Okay. And how to check the host name? Anyone can answer. How to check the
Typing
host?
host name in command prompt.
Okay. Do we need to open command prompt? How to open command prompt?
Yes, sir. Shall I share screen?
Windows, sir.
You can type it here
Searching
also.
in Windows command prompt.
Right. You can search in that Windows search box on the bottom left, right? On the bottom left, you can type CMD. Right. Enter. Right. Now, how to check the host name?
Just have to write down host name.
Yeah, type host name and click enter.
Yeah.
Achha. Single word. Type it as a single word. Host name. HOST. Name. No, host name.
Shiru.
Achut, are you sharing your screen first time? Hello? Type host name. Achut. Host name. No, type it as a single word. Host name is type it as a single word. Enter. Right? That is your host name. Host name means nothing but machine name, your machine name. Clear? See, that's what, that's what it is shown, hold on. So let me take control. See, that's what it is showing here as device name. This is nothing but your host name, right? Host name is nothing but your device name. What is your computer name? right? That is the name given by the guy who installed on your machine, who installed software on your machine. If you want, you can change it. Okay, we'll see that later. All right. So thanks, Achut. I'm stopping your screen share. All right, I'm sharing my screen, guys. Next, what are the other concepts that we left over yesterday, guys? So I think I did not cover this additional clocks in Windows operating system, right? So I just I have shown my additional clocks, whatever I have added on my machine. That's it. I didn't tell how to add those, right? I'll cover that today. And what is this remote desktop connection used for? Prasad, what is this remote desktop connection used for?
Sir, it is used to take the control of the other computer, sir.
You want to connect to a remote computer.
Yes, sir.
Right?
Yes,
You
sir.
want to, right? And so is there any condition, can you connect to any computer? Can you connect to my computer?
No, sir, by taking IP address of the other computer, sir.
Okay, if I give my IP address, can you connect directly?
Yes, no, sir. You should accept the request, sir.
Okay, I will accept it. Can you connect? Okay, let me tell you. So we can connect to the same computer. I mean, we can connect to any computer which is on the same network, which is connected to same network. Okay.
Okay.
So
Okay,
even
sir.
though I give you IP address and credentials, you cannot connect. So
Okay,
we
sir.
will be in the same network.
Okay, sir.
Okay. So
Okay,
we'll
sir.
discuss that in detail. So for now, and please remember that remote desktop connection is used to connect to any remote computer which is in the same network as yours.
Same network. Okay, sir.
Right? Both of you should be in both the machines should be in the same network. Then it is possible.
Okay, sir.
So if you have one more laptop at your home, you can connect to that. Right?
Okay, sir.
Provided you have to enable the remote desktop connection on that machine. So suppose you type MSDSC and you type the IP address over here. At the same time, one prerequisite is that machine should be connected to the same network, right? And
Yes, sir.
and also remote connection should be enabled. Remote desktop connection should be enabled on that machine, right? And Windows, I already covered some Windows shortcuts and Excel training and Word training. I gave as an assignment. Okay, so how many of you did the test? How many of you, how many videos did you complete on this Excel basics and Windows Microsoft Word basics? Guys, please respond. Say yes or no. Right? So this is mandatory, guys. You should know Excel basics and Word basics. That's mandatory for any software engineer. Okay. Any course, whatever course you join, like this is mandatory. All right. And now, what is static IP and dynamic IP? Anyone? Guys, I already told you, like this is my training, period breakup. Daily we will be having assessment like this for 5 to 10 minutes. Okay. So without daily assessment, I will not start the next topic. All right. So I'm sharing you recorded session also. You can go through that recorded session. Yes or no?
Yes, sir.
So there is no point in just joining and so when you want to claim experience, like you cannot do that without practice, without spending some time apart from the session time. You need to spend at least 1 hour or 1.5 hours every day. Right? So for those who is possible, those only can continue. Right? So if you can't, if it is not possible, we'll see it later. Okay. Then join some other batch. All right. So only if and only if you can spend some at least actually half an hour time is enough. Or else for these concepts, like no need to spend time again also, whatever I am asking. So if you are focused the session, if you are focused and if you are, completely concentrating on this, you should remember it. Yes or no? All this LAN, WAN or port number, host name, I already explained yesterday in detail. Okay then. So I'll start with SDLC. So please, please go through the recorded session. After the session is completed, if you are, if you want to, please go through the recorded session one more time. I'll start with software development lifecycle today, right? So let me first explain what is SDLC, software development lifecycle. Guys, able to hear me?
Yes, sir.
Yeah, sorry, I got disconnected, and I got connected again immediately.
Yes.
I'm sharing back my screen, guys. Right? So whenever for any software project, right? When a team is working on developing any application or any project, right? So it will start with requirement analysis, right? So it will start with requirement analysis. First, all the requirements will be collected from the client, right? So, and that requirement analysis will be done by the team, by the team who is working on that project. So once the requirement analysis is done, so next the designing phase starts. Means how to which language we have to use for developing that project, or for that application, right? It can be, when I say application, it can be a web application or a mobile application, right? It can be anything, web application or a mobile application or a desktop application. It can be a desktop application also, right? So in the designing phase, what it will be decided, what language to use, what technologies to use, what is the database, what should go, which database we should use, all these will be decided in this designing phase. And once designing is completed, then implementation. So there will be architect team for this, who will be doing this designing and all. There will be, architect will be leading that. There will be some software architect who will be leading that designing phase. All right. So once designing phase is done, then comes, implementation phase. Implementation phase is nothing but writing the code to develop a project, to develop an application, right? When I say application, it can be, yes, what are the different types of applications we can have broadly? What are the different types of applications that we can have? What are the different categories?
Web application, mobile application.
Right, it can be a web application which can be accessed from a browser, or mobile application, yes, and it can be a desktop application, and so on, right? Clear, guys?
Yes.
Now, so once the coding, so implementation phase is nothing but coding phase, right? Writing the code, developers writing the code and all, right? That is called as implementation phase. So once the implementation is done, right, then so once the implementation is done, then testing phase, this is a typical software development life cycle in waterfall model. I'll explain what is that waterfall model later on. So this is a typical software development life cycle for a simple project, right? So once the implementation or coding is done, testing will be started. But nowadays, this testing will be started along with development. We'll discuss that later. Why testing should be started along with development. We'll discuss that later. So, but in this diagram, it shows that, after coding is completed, then testing comes into picture. And once testing is completed, software testing is completed, then it will go into production. Evaluation phase means production phase, means that application will go live. Application will go live, right? So we are not interested in requirement analysis or designing or implementation, but we are interested in this testing life cycle. We are interested in this testing part, right? And please remember, nowadays, this testing is started along with the development. As soon as the development is started, testing also will be started, right? For modern applications, testing should be started right now, along with the development of the application. Is it clear, guys? What is SDLC? Software development life cycle. So this diagram tells you what are the different phases in the development of any software. Clear, guys? Right? Now we are interested in this testing. So we we are interested only in this testing. Now let's see what are the different phases in testing. Okay. So before that, there is one favorite quote of mine. So about testing, to tell somebody that you are wrong is called as criticism, but to do so officially is called as testing. Right? Make sense?
Yes, sir.
Sure. Yeah.
Yeah. Now let's understand the testing life cycle now. So we know we are not interested in this implementation phase or designing phase or evaluation phase or requirement analysis. We are interested in this testing phase. Now let's understand what is, what are the different phases in this testing life cycle. So when let's assume that, one team of developers are working on developing this Gmail project. Okay. So Google team is working on developing this Gmail project. All right. This is also an application, right? Web application, which is used throughout the world. Right. So let's assume that a team of developers are working on this Gmail application to develop this. Right. Now, so once developers, so a team of developers, if you observe, I mentioned a team of developers, right? So it can't be developed by a single developer. Maybe there will be like 10 to 15 members, as it is Gmail application, there may be more than that also, right? So each developer will be working, splitting his work, and, the whole work will be divided into between different team members, and one team will be working on developing the UI, user interface, right? UI means user interface means this is what we see, right? So this window designing and this text box and this next button, right? Next button should be in blue color. This text should be again in blue color, and so on. And there will be some font here like to maintain, right? So some team will be developing on the UI, user interface, developing the UI, and some team of developers will be working on the backend, right? Clear, guys? So when developers are writing some code, right? So as soon as some piece of code is developed, they do something called unit testing. And unit testing is done by the developers themselves. So unit testing is also called as white box testing. I'll explain soon why it is called as white box testing and what is black box testing. But for now, remember that unit testing is also called as white box testing done during the development or coding phase of an application by the developers. So basically, let's assume that if you assume that this is a Java application, right? So in Java, everything is a class, right? In Java, everything, each unit of code is called as a Java class. Is called as a Java class. So if you, how many of you heard this? How many of you know this? When you are using Java programming language, so each piece of code is called as a Java class, right? If you don't know, please remember that. You can take it down. You can take running notes if you want, guys. So once a developer writes some piece of code, they will do the unit testing of that section of code or that part of code and verify its correctness. Here, guys. So unit test isolate a section of code and verify its correctness. Guys, able to hear me? Please respond. So please, those who
Yes,
don't
sir.
have any background
Yes,
noise, please respond, one of you.
Yes, sir.
All right. So developers will be doing something called unit testing, and you can see here unit testing is done by developers. And another important thing that you need to know is this is also called as white box testing. Unit testing done by developers is called as white box testing. And let's understand what is meant by a unit. A unit may be an individual function, method, procedure, module, or object. A unit can be an individual function, a small function in the code, or a small method, right? If you don't know about this terminology, nothing to worry. You will understand, in the coming up sessions, you will understand what is a function, what is method, what is a procedure. You will understand all of these guys. So, to give an overview, let me explain. So module means, part of the project is called as module. Part of a project is called as module. Okay. For instance, if you take some IRCTC, or let me take apple.com, right? So if this project is, a team of developers are working on this, so they may, one team may be working on this, this page, developing this iPhone page for iPhone. Right? And another team may be working on this Mac, right? Another team may be working on this page, this particular page called with this Mac tab, right? So there may be a different team, or there may be different developers who will be working on one developer for each of these pages, right? And each one is called as a module. You see some tabs over here, right? There is a store tab, and there is another tab for MacBooks. There is another tab for iPad, another tab for iPhone. So one developer may be working on each page, or multiple developers, 2 or 3 developers may be working on each of these pages. And these are called as modules, software modules. Clear, guys? Right? You'll understand what is object, what is function method in the coming up sessions. All right. So software project is made up of different modules or different classes or different functions and methods. Clear, guys? Or no?
Yes.
Right? Now,
Yeah.
yeah. So now once unit testing is done, right? At the end of the day, like all these should work in cohesion, right? They should work together, right? Suppose let's take Gmail example itself. Suppose, if you let me log in, right? Let me log into Gmail. I want to explain you something about integration testing. So let me explain that. What is integration testing? Please give me a moment. I have two-factor authentication. Click on my Gmail. Yeah. So let's assume that, like one team of developers, let's take this Gmail example now. So, for this integration testing, let me explain this. Let me take this Gmail example. Suppose a team of developers are working on this inbox and another team is working on this Hangouts, right? And another team is working on this Google Meet, right? And one more team may be working on this, UI, complete UI, right? Now, once this, different pieces of code are attached together, they have to work properly, right? Once all these pieces of code are integrated together, they have to work properly. Yes or no? Right? So that also will be tested, and that testing is called as integration testing, system integration testing. System means you can read it as an application. System means here you can read it as an application. System means not your desktop or laptop. Here it is an application. Clear, guys? And what is this integration testing? Integration testing is defined as a type of testing where software modules are integrated logically and tested as a group, right? Now, is this understood what is meant by integration testing? If you assume that, so one developer, one team of developers worked on this. Let's assume that one team of developers worked on this inbox thing, and one team of developers worked on this tree-like structure on the left side. And let's assume that another developer worked on this Google Meet, right? And another developer worked on this Hangouts. Now, and right, and let's assume that there is a UI team also which is working separately. So once all these units are combined together, right? So to test how it is working, whether it is working as expected or not, right? So the testing that is done after integrating these modules is called as integration testing. Integration, what is the meaning of integration? General meaning of integration is
All together.
integration means combination. Right click on that and use this option, explore option, so that you will get the Google search results. Okay. Or else, let me integration, general meaning of integration. Right? Integration means nothing but combining something, combining or something. That is called as integration. Clear, guys? Act or instance of combining into an integral whole. Act. Just understand this. Act of or instance of combining. Clear? In here, integration testing means like the testing which is done, type of testing which is done when software modules are integrated or combined together logically, right? That is called as integration testing. And this integration testing is done in an environment called SIT, System Integration Testing Environment. Clear, guys? Let me give some example, guys. Why are you so silent? Everyone is silent. Let me give some example. Okay. Let me give some example. So suppose, we'll take a car manufacturing unit, right? So, or a vehicle, any vehicle manufacturing unit, whether it can be a two-wheeler or four-wheeler. And, it contains different components, right? Any vehicle consists of different components, yes or no?
Yes, sir.
Right? So it will have some steering wheel, or it will have some, handlebar, or if it is a two-wheeler, or if it is a four-wheeler, it will have a steering wheel, and if it will have headlights, wire, seats, and all this, main body, engine, and all this, right? So
Yes, sir.
part will be tested individually. Suppose light comes from your headlight, may be manufactured by some company. Okay.
Yes, sir.
Right? And your wheels, rims will be manufactured by some other company, right? And your steering wheel may be manufactured by some other company. Seats will be manufactured by some other company. Yes or no?
Yes, sir.
No single company develop all this. There will be thousands of components, first of all, in any vehicle. And there may be like, more than 50 to 60 companies or hundreds of companies which will be involved in this. Yes or no? Right? And each company, suppose, there is a company which manufactured a headlight. So it will test, before giving it to the client, before giving it to the car manufacturer, they will test themselves in their factory. Yes or no?
Yes, sir.
Right? So that is unit testing. Right? Each single component testing is, each single unit is called as unit testing. As simple as that. Unit means a small piece of something, that is called as a unit. So unit testing will be done by, the company which manufactured that light or seat or steering wheel or gear rod or, gear wheel and so on. Yes or no?
Yes, sir.
Now, once this manufacturing is done, assembling is done, again, the vehicle manufacturer should test it, right? Whether all the components are working together properly or not. Right? Yes or
Yes.
no?
Yes, sir.
Right?
Yes, sir.
So in the same way, in software also, this integration testing will be done, and that environment is called SIT environment. As simple as it, that's it. There is no rocket science here.
Okay.
Right? Is this clear now? Can you explain now what is integration testing, what is unit testing? If someone asks you, you can just correlate. You can just correlate with that example, that vehicle manufacturing example. Right?
Yes, sir.
Every part comes with some label called tested. Okay, tested. Right?
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
Nowadays, even your bunions and all also are coming with that label. Okay, tested, something like that. Tested for they're testing. Suppose what do they test in a an apparel or a bunion? They will test whether are any shirt or pant, right? So they tested that there are no stitching defects or something. There are no damages to the cloth anywhere, or there are no stitching defects. Yes or no?
Yes, sir.
Right? So this, every product, not only software or vehicle. So any product, like before it goes to the market, it will be tested thoroughly. It should be tested, right? Unless until it is an unorganized manufacturing unit. Every organized player, they will be testing their product before releasing it to the releasing it to the market. Yes or no?
Yes, sir.
Right. So you understood, right? What is integration testing and what is unit testing? What is integration testing? Right? And what is the purpose of integration testing? The purpose is to expose defects in the interaction between these software modules when they are integrated. Right? So sorry, I think I missed this. A typical software project consists of multiple software modules coded by different programmers. A typical software project, any software, whether it is a web application or a mobile application, it consists of multiple software modules, right? And those multiple software modules may be coded by different programmers. And now what is the purpose of integration testing? It is to expose the defects in the interaction between these software modules when they are integrated. Clear case? Yes, please respond.
Yes.
Right. Now, once this integration testing is done, then the next type of testing that will be done is called functional testing. Now, and this is done in an environment called QA environment. QA stands for quality assurance or quality analysis. Right? Functional testing is done in an environment called QA environment, and QA stands for quality analysis or quality assurance. Now let's understand what is this functional testing. We'll take the same Gmail example. Let me log out of this. There is a reason I am logging out of that. Let me log out of that. Let me open new incognito browser again. Okay. Suppose you type gmail.com, right, in a browser. So for the very first time. So everyone should get this page. Yes or no? If you start in a new browser, so you should get, once you type gmail.com, you should get this login page. Yes or no?
Yes,
Right?
sir.
I'm explaining what is functional testing, guys. What is functional testing? First of all, functional testing is nothing but testing the functionality of an application. Testing the functionality of an application against the functional requirements or specifications. That is called as functional testing. Now, let me first explain the example, then you will get a clear understanding. Once you type gmail.com, you should get this login page. Everyone will get this login page. I used incognito browser, by the way. I used private browser because I am already logged into a normal browser. So if I type gmail.com here, it will directly allow me to log in to my Gmail. That's the reason I used incognito window or private browser, right? So private, let me explain, what is the difference between normal browser and private browser. This is called as private browser. So you see here, right? A private browser will have this icon, this incognito icon. This is a Chrome browser. Chrome terminology low, this is called as incognito. Okay. If it is Firefox, that is called as private browser. Let me first understand. Let us understand, everyone. Let me explain what is the difference between a normal browser and private browser. So if you observe here, Firefox terminology low, that is called as new private window. This is called as private window. Whereas in Chrome, this is called as incognito window. Clear, guys? Here you can see on the top right, right? And let us understand what is the difference of between this normal browser and private browser. So when you are using a private browser or incognito window, Chrome won't save the following information. What it doesn't save, it won't save your browsing history, it won't save cookies and site data, and it won't save whatever information you enter in the forms. Right? Clear, guys? Whatever information you enter in the HTML form, that also it won't save. So this is it clear or no? It won't save your browsing history. So how does how can we, this is a normal browser, and can I see my browsing history? How can we see the browsing history? On the top right, you see 3 dots vertically, right? So click on that and see here history. There will be history option. So here you can see what all websites I have visited. Okay. I mean, so not this website are not visited by me alone. So, like I have like 2-3 people who are working on this at my home. So you see here, right, but you can see here what all browsers or what all websites I have were visited on this machine. Clear, guys?
Yes, sir.
So your normal browser saves the browsing history. That's what you need to know. You need to understand. Okay. You need not know what all sites I have visited, but please focus on this. Your normal browser stores your browsing history. Browsing history means what all websites I have visited. Clear, guys? Now, so let me go to the incognito browser. So do you will not have any browsing history option here. First of all, you will not have that history option because private browser won't save your browsing history. They will not save your browsing history. Okay.
Yes.
So if you want to, if you are using, a shared laptop, shared machine, and if you don't want others to, know what websites are you are browsing, you can use this private browser on secret revealed, right? If you are using a shared laptop, like if you're at your home or in your room, right? So few people are staying in bachelor's rooms, right? So if you don't want others to know what websites you are visiting, you can use this private browser. Okay. So it will not, private browser will not save your browsing history. Don't misuse this, by the way. Still, if like your, so even though it will not track your browsing history, your activity, please read this, your activity might still be visible to websites that you visit, your employer or school or your internet service provider. They will be able to track you. They will be able to track what websites you have visited. If you are using office laptop, your employer will know what websites you are visiting. So that's why I mentioned that don't misuse this. Okay. Clear, guys? You understood what is the difference between a normal browser and private browser?
Yes, sir.
The reason why I'm explaining this is like, some people asked me like in the previous session, sir, why are you using, you are using some different browser. Why are you using that? That's why I explained this. Okay. Now coming back to the, functional testing. Suppose you type gmail.com, right? So let me open a new browser. Okay. New incognito. Let me type gmail.com. Okay. So once you click on sign in, you should get this window. Yes or no? And it should ask for your email or phone number. And you are supposed to, suppose you enter your email ID. This is my email ID, perftest.kb, right? And one more thing, do I need to type @gmail.com? @gmail.com. It should be read as at. It should not be read as @. It should be read as at. Right? So perftest.kb. This is my mail ID. Okay. So let me show you something. So do I need to enter @gmail.com mandatory? Is it compulsory to enter that?
Not mandatory, sir.
Not mandatory, right? So you can just enter that email ID and click on next. That will work. This will work. And it is asking for password. See here. So it is automatically, adding that @gmail.com because we are using Gmail. It has happened at @gmail.com. It understood that this is your email ID. And it should ask for password. Right? Then the moment you click on this, enter your email ID and click next, it should ask your password. Now, if you enter some valid password, your actual password, it should log in. Suppose I am entering some invalid password. I am entering some junk characters like this. And if I click on next, it should display some error message like this. Wrong password, try again, or click forget password. It should display some error message in red color. And it is highlighting this box also in red color. Yes or no? Did you observe that? Previously, default, you have some blue color. Now, like if I enter the password, wrong password, right? It is highlighting that this box also, this text field. We call this as text field, right? So it is highlighting the text field in red color, and it is also showing some error message in red color, right? So this is the functionality of the application. This is how it was designed. The application is designed. Clear, guys? If you enter a correct password, it should allow you to log in. If you enter a wrong password, it should, display an error message, right? So this testing is called as functional testing. This is just one example, guys, right? We are testing the functionality of the application. Clear, guys? Guys, you understood what is functional testing. So once I enter the correct password, I enable two-factor authentication. So I have to, approve it on my mobile. Okay. So of course, I have enabled this. This is optional again. So you can disable that two-factor. I mean, by default, you don't have that two-factor authentication, but I have enabled that two-factor authentication. Right? So if you understood, right? So understood, right? What is functional testing, guys?
Yes, sir.
So once you authenticate, it should allow you to log into your Gmail and show your inbox. Yes or no? So this is how Gmail is designed. This is how it should work, right? This is the requirement of the Gmail application, right? And testing the functionality of this application, of any application, that is called as functional testing. Is it clear now? Guys, is it clear?
Yes, sir.
Right? So functional testing is a type of black box testing where the system is tested against the functional requirements or specifications. So functions or features are tested by feeding them input and examining the output. By feeding them input. What is the input here for logging in? What is the input for logging in? I entered my email address, right? That is the input, yes or no? Guys.
Yes, sir.
So what is the input for logging into the application? You have to enter your email
Enter the
address
email
and
address.
password, right? That is the input. So we are feeding them input. We are entering the input to the application and examining the output. What output we are getting, right? So this is how we do functional testing. Functional testing ensures that the requirements are properly satisfied by the application. Is it clear now what is functional testing? Yes, please say yes or no.
Yes.
Yes.
Saujanya, Jayalakshmi, Kirtana, and Alekya.
Yes, sir.
Yes, sir.
Yes, sir.
Let me pass reply. Right. Now let us understand why this functional testing is called as black box testing and why unit testing is called as white box testing. Very important interview question. So I'll note it down here. So I'll create one document for your batch. Okay. And I will be adding all the interview questions into this document, guys. I will be providing access to this document to everyone. All right. So you can also take some running notes. Okay. So let me rename this first. Daily batch. All right. So what is the test? What is first? We covered some important interview questions here. What is unit testing? First, what is SDLC? Can you explain SDLC? Okay. What is SDLC? We already discussed this, right? And what is unit testing? And what is integration testing? These are basics. Okay, testing basics, guys. That's why like you can see here, I gave the slide as performance testing introduction. So these are basic concepts or fundamentals. All right.
Okay, sir.
So what is integration testing and what is functional testing? What is non-functional testing? Once we cover this functional testing, I'll explain what is non-functional testing. Non-functional testing or performance testing. Non-functional testing is also called as performance testing, right? Now, and what is the other question? What is the difference between what is black box testing and what is white box testing? What is white box testing and what is black box testing? Right? Let me give some numbers to this. Okay. Okay. What is white box testing and what is black box? Let's understand, what is white box testing, by the way? Alekya, what is white box testing?
Unit box testing.
Unit testing, not unit
Unit
box
test. Yes, unit testing.
Unit testing is also called as white box testing. Now let's understand what is this white box testing and why is it called so? Why do we call that as white box testing? So unit testing is called as white box testing because so developers will know every in and out of the code that they are writing, right? Developers will know in and out of the code that they are developing, right? So they know everything about the application. Everything is clear for them. So that's why that is called as white box testing, right? Once I explain black box testing, then you will understand. So black box testing will be done by QA team or testing team, right? So will they know what they need not know code of that application. Suppose if it is a Java application, the tester need not know how to write Java code and all, and they need not know the logic and all. They need not know internals of the application. Yes or no?
Sir.
Right. So that's why this is called as black box testing. Right. The test engineers need not know about the internals of the application. They need not know what is the language that is used for development of that application and so on, and how to write that code and all, right? So that's why this is called as functional testing is called as black box testing. Clear, guys?
Yes, sir.
Right. Now, so let's move on to the next one. So so this is all about functional testing. Now, next comes performance testing. So performance testing is this is also called non-functional testing. Here you can see I have highlighted, right? Performance testing is non-functional testing to determine speed, responsiveness, and stability of a computer, network, software program, or a device under workload. Right? Let me explain this. First of all, performance testing is done in an environment called test environment, or few organizations call that as engineering environment. Few organizations call that as engineering environment. And functional testing is done in QA environment. What is meant by this environment, guys? What is meant by this environment? Here we know I call this as SIT environment. Here this is called as QA environment. Functional testing is done in QA environment. performance testing is done in test environment or engineering environment. What do you mean by environment here?
They are the different like lower environments.
Okay.
I mean, different infrastructure.
Right. So there are different, environment is nothing but different boxes. Right? So functional testing will be done in a different box, right? Different computer. Performance testing is done in a different set of computers. Clear, guys? So that's what environment means. All right. Now, performance testing is done in an environment called test environment or engineering environment. Environment is nothing but here a single. It can be a single computer or a group of computers. All right. Now, now let's understand what is the definition of performance testing. So performance testing is non-functional testing, right? So we don't test the functionality here like this, right? So you understood functional testing. Everyone is familiar with functional testing, right? Okay. Let me define this. Right. So performance testing is non-functional testing, right? To determine speed. When I say speed is nothing but response time. Response time of a page or response times of any application. So let me type. I'm accessing this website. Let's say, for example, I want to see how speed or how I want to do performance testing for this website apple.com. Say, for example, let me explain what is speed. Speed means how much time it took to load this page, right? So you see here, right? Of course, as I'm on a very good internet connection, and I'm using latest good system, right? It's loading very fast. But generally, if you search on some medium configuration or something, so it will take some time to load this page, as we have some high resolution images, yes or no? Or if you take any Flipkart or Amazon.in example, right? So it will take some 1 second or 2 seconds to load the page, isn't it, guys?
Yes,
Right?
sir.
So you will have a lot of images over here in any e-commerce application. So in the same way, you have a lot of high resolution pics here, isn't it? You have some high resolution images here. So it will take some time, right? That is called as response time. It will take some time to load the page, isn't it? And that is the response time of that page. Clear, guys? So this is what we know when you say speed. This is what I am referring to, right? So performance testing is non-functional testing to determine the response time, right, and responsiveness and stability of an application, stability of a computer or network or software program or a device under workload. So here in this case, if you are testing a web application, we are testing the speed, stability, and scalability and reliability of an application. Right. So let me show you one generalized, definition for performance testing. Performance testing is a non-functional testing to determine an application's speed, stability, scalability, and reliability. And speed is nothing but what is the response time of the page, how much time each page is taking. Stability, how stable is the application? Means how stable is the application on load and excess load, on normal load and excess load. And scalability, we will discuss this in detail, but for now remember that performance testing is a non-functional testing to determine an application's speed, stability, scalability, and reliability. Right? I'll stop it here for today. So we'll continue tomorrow. I will explain here like what is speed, what is stability, scalability, reliability, and all. We will discuss this in detail tomorrow. So I'll stop it here, guys, for today.
Okay, sir.
Any queries before we close the session?
So one thing like when it comes to workload modeling, right? So this should be given by the application team or this should be done by the testers?
It can be in some projects we may need to develop the workload model. Okay, we may need to design the workload model. See, for example, if performance testing is something new to the client, they haven't done performance testing before, they may not be having a workload model with them readily. So in that case, we have to design the workload model. So for that, you need to analyze the logs. If it is already in production, you have to analyze the logs. Okay, if it is a new application, so you have to collect some information from the business development team, business analyst team, BA team. Right? I'll cover that. I'll cover that in the coming up sessions. So
Okay.
for a new, how do we do performance testing for a newly built application and already developed application, right? So why do we do performance testing for a already existing system and for a newly developed application? I will explain this here. And workload modeling, I will explain like once we enter into some tool. I mean, before entering the tool, before starting any tool, I will explain that workload model.
Okay. Sure, sir.
Okay, any queries before we close the session for today? Let me pause recording if you don't have anything.